Hi, I'm Felicity Kiernan. I'm the project manager of the STAR team, Student Transition and Retention. And
I'm Cassie Khamis. I'm the Student Experience Coordinator, so I'm responsible for orientation and a few other things that we do.
Yep. So this is a new team that's just really come together this year, and as you can see, primary goal is to try and develop the programs around the university to really help the student transition to university and retention. So as well as myself and Cassie, the team includes a number of people who are specifically targeted at helping with transition and retention of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students, including, I don't know if you're all familiar with the ITAS program, which provides tutoring to Indigenous students if they need that, government funded, and also the Cadigal program. I'm sure most of you know about that. So we help run the Cadigal program, which is both a pathways program and a preparation program, and then continued support throughout university. So provides all those functions. So orientation this year. Yes, it was amazing. We had such a good turnout this year. More than 3,000, well in excess of 3,000. You can see the numbers there alone are already adding up to more than 3,000. We also had the biggest ever postgrad welcome.
Yes. So this year we actually, normally we have the postgrad welcome during the first week of classes, because that's when most postgrad students are actually on campus. And we changed the event to a Monday night because I actually worked out that less students had classes on a Monday night. And we had about 250 to 300 students turn up for that. And in the past, it's been about 150 to 200. So that was really great.
And the postgrad welcome in particular is a fantastic opportunity for people to hang around afterwards and have the one-on-one contact with various parts of the university, such as IT seemed extremely popular this year, and security was another that was very popular. In fact, we ended up having to chase students out of Maclaurin Hall by the end of the evening after a couple of hours. We've got fantastic feedback from everyone. We've heard about this great new student response system that we might be implementing for the next orientation. But the feedback we have got has really been very positive. More than 80% of the feedback in every single welcome was either positive or very positive on saying that the welcomes had addressed their concerns and made them feel more prepared for university. We had a couple of initiatives this year. Disability Services ran the welcomes for students with Asperger's syndrome and students with vision impairment, which really got fantastic feedback from those. There were, well, you might like to talk a little bit more about the actual program.
So there were small numbers. They were basically targeting for the Asperger's about 120 students in total, and vision impairment at different levels, of course, is a couple of hundred students. So the turnout was quite good, considering it was only about a week to 2 weeks notice for these students. And it was a very intimate day, and there was great feedback from the students, and their parents and carers were invited along as well. There was a session in the morning that was both for the parents and carers and the students, and then the students had their own session in the afternoon as well. So yeah, I guess the feedback was just that it was really informative, and the students felt very comfortable with getting familiar with the campus and then being able to start along with the rest of the students a couple of weeks later. We also, did you want me to continue? Sorry, Felicity's not feeling very well today, so I'm sort of looking at her, waiting for her to just drop. We also did a welcome for the new E12 student, which are the early entry scheme students. We had 90 students out of the 120 who were offered a place attend the welcome on that day, and the majority of students again found this really useful and yeah, really enjoyed the day. A big part of our central sessions, so these are sessions which we run from student support services that are designed to sit alongside the faculty sessions, is we have a very intense question and answer session, and we've been extending these each year. And once again, the students just love it because they find it so much easier instead of sitting there having to listen to information to actually ask the questions. And they find we get them to write their questions down, and same sort of thing, although we can maybe use some sort of interactive systems now. They sit in groups and write questions, and I think it's a big comfort to them to know that everyone's got the same questions, doesn't matter how basic or complicated they might be.
And coming new into this, I was told that we prepare a few Dorothy Dixes just to kick the process off, so that we have some questions just in case nobody comes up with any. And again, I thought there were a number of Dorothy Dixes that turned out to be the same questions being worded the same way by every group. So it was really good they had that opportunity to all hear this information. The main question in every group seemed to be, how do you get from one side to campus to the other when you've got adjacent classes? So that it turns out is a huge concern with the incoming students. So another initiative was the orientation planner, and I might again get Cassie to.
So the orientation planner was designed to almost be like the info day and open day apps that students can have. So it's a mobile-enabled website, and it allows students to plan and personalise their orientation week events because there are so many. It was accompanied by our website and the booklet, which we do each year, but we wanted to bring this in because you know, we're hoping to sort of move away from the print at some point. Again, students found it very useful. I mean, we had over 9,350 visits, and considering there's about 11,000 incoming students, this is really quite good. Yeah, also the amount of time spent on there was about 5 minutes, which is on our website. The longest students will spend on a page is 4 minutes. So again, this is really good. And yeah, the interesting thing that came out was, I guess, the most viewed event. So the top one was So You Think You Can Win an iPad, which was actually the University Libraries competition. So that was really good. Also, our University Welcome, which is our opening event for Orientation Week. And then Looking for Casual Work, which was a session run by Careers. Now, they actually had this oversubscribed, and we had to change venues for the following day, so that was really good. And then number 4 there is the barbecue lunch, which came after the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences welcome. So that was interesting that students were looking at the lunch and not their welcome. But and roughly the most favoured events were the same thing, but for special mention in there was lectures and how to use them, which is a session run by the Learning Centre, which is always very popular. So that's good. I mean, just from looking at this, we're targeting, you know, the right areas because students are going to a combination of, you know, the fun, social, welcoming events and the practical sessions which we offer. So next year we hope to run with this again, and we'd love to really get all the sessions that are on offer. I know, for example, the business school had their own orientation sessions this year, so it'd be great to include them. Same with Faculty of Health Sciences. I know they had a lot of stuff on, and we're also hoping to work with the union to get all the O-Week social activities in there too, so that way students see it as one week and not, you know, 2 different sort of weeks that sit side by side.
Yeah. In fact, as part of our survey of Orientation Week, we actually asked the students, were you aware that they are 2 different things, the O-Week and the orientation? And most people had no idea there were 2 different weeks running at the same time, which was pretty much what we would expect. And we don't really see that they need to see them as 2 different weeks, so we'd like to really get them presented en masse in a single app so people can just pick which events they're going to and not find that they've double booked themselves. Hopefully you'll all recognise this image and that you all had your Ask Me badges and wore them with pride. We did actually distribute the 1,500 badges that we ordered, about half to staff and about half to the senior students, most of whom were the peer mentors who got those. And we had a great response. Almost 60% of the respondents saw somebody wearing a badge during orientation week. The campus infrastructure guys were great. They wore their badges and stood in Eastern Avenue handing out the little maps, pocket maps, and the Chancellor wore one at the official welcome, even though she's new and doesn't know a lot of the answers yet. So yeah, it was really taken on board by a lot of groups, and we're really excited about that. We all got asked a lot of questions when we were wearing them. I had a couple of students actually spot the badge and come running over to me during the first week of lectures, so we really got a great response, and that's reflected by the fact that almost half of our survey respondents who saw the badge asked a question of somebody wearing the badge. So we really want to build on this next year and keep that feeling of students that it is okay for them to come up and ask somebody a question. The survey, we had almost 4,000 responses. We do have a lot more information. We're still in the process of sorting through and consolidating that information. What we've pulled out here are some of the major differences from last year. So one of the differences was we, instead of asking people if they were an Australian rural student, as we did last year, and to which we've had a fairly consistent response of about 10%, we asked if they had moved to Sydney to study, which gives a better reflection of the dislocation, even if they are moving from another metropolitan area. And that was 24% of the undergraduate, 20% undergrad and 24% postgrad. So that's a substantial proportion of our students who have moved away from their family, their friends, their school, their familiar life, and over 8% of them, of both groups, moved from a rural area. The international students, we had a huge response to the welcome events. Out of the survey respondents, last year 42% had attended the barbecue. This year it was 76%. And the Welcome to Sydney party at Manning Bar was actually at capacity. They ended up having to turn people away. So they had a couple of thousand people attending that. It was really, really successful.
I think it's, I think it's worth mentioning over the past couple of years we've been trying to really cut down the international sessions, because we are aware that faculties run their own welcomes for international students as well. So the international student orientation program went from 4 days down to 2, and this has been really successful because students go to a range of events throughout the day. So we work really closely with the USU and Sydney Uni Sport and Fitness to plan different activities throughout the day, and it seems to be working really well, and the students really enjoy it. So yeah, just to give you some background.
Yep. So one unfortunate thing we've found out is the increase in students unable to attend due to work commitments. That was 37% of our survey respondents. So we may want to look into, do we want to extend it to Saturday? Do we want to extend the hours? They're all fairly difficult questions, but that's a fairly major proportion of people who are missing out entirely on orientation. The faculty welcomes were very popular, which is fantastic. And the people buying the access cards and presumably correlated joining the clubs has really increased too. So that's fantastic for the participation. We do have a few of the negative responses there at the end. I was actually a little surprised by the reduction in people able to find their faculty librarian, because the QR code challenge was the most popular thing on the orientation planner. So we would have hoped that would lead to more people able to find their faculty library. So yeah.
I guess that can be correlated with ICT normally have a stall during in Eastern Avenue during orientation, and the libraries normally organise tours. So they didn't run those this year, so Whether that's directly comparable, we don't know. But I guess the problematic one is the first one, students not knowing where their faculty office is, but hopefully that's drilled into them by second week. So
yeah. 80% is still a good number, but 20% missing are a worry.
Yeah.
So
I mean, one comment we get every year with the survey is students want more tours. That's just what they want. They want to be familiar with the university, and I know that we work with the USU to do free campus tours and different societies and faculty welcomes, and the mentoring programs all do tours and that sort of thing. But I don't know.
There's still more demand.
Yeah.
So we'll keep working on that. So peer mentoring. Cassie, speak to that.
So at the end of last year and earlier this year, we organised a centralised portion of peer mentoring training for some faculties. So this training program covered the roles and responsibilities of a mentor, dealing with students in distress and self-care, information about student support services and different support areas on campus, and how to refer students appropriately to these services. So I think we started November last year and went through to February this year. We trained over 600 mentors across the Faculty of Health Sciences, Arts and Social Sciences, the Business School and the Law School. We adapted the training sessions depending on what the faculties required. So some of the sessions which we ran in February were catch-up sessions for students who perhaps couldn't make the sessions in November and December, so they were shorter. But essentially the sessions centred around making sure the students are aware of the centralised support services if the students need them, and how to appropriately refer students onto those services. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Students really seemed to enjoy. We did a little role play at the end where we put up some scenarios of typical university students, and just got the students to have a think about maybe what's going on with those students in the particular scenarios, and they seemed to enjoy that very much. And we also had some comments from staff that they learnt a little bit. I guess from our perspective, student support services has gone through a bit of a change in the last couple of months. We have a completely new service division, and obviously the STAR team, we're a new team as well, so it's important to get that out there. So if any other faculties are interested in having a centralised portion of their peer mentoring training, please contact myself, Felicity or Geordie. We'd be very interested to work with you, and I'm sure I've already been in contact with most of the areas by now. But yeah.
Okay, Track and Connect.
Do you want me to talk to this as well? So Track and Connect is another program which we run. So this is a retention program which is designed to increase retention of students who are susceptible to becoming at risk by providing appropriate and timely advice, in particular during the first, it should be the first 4 to 6 weeks, of commencing tertiary study. So the way that this program came about is before my time, I should say, but we are in collaboration with the Business School and the Faculty of Engineering and IT, and we're looking at 2 of their first year generalist subjects that the majority of students had to do. We ran this program for the first time in semester 2 last year, and the process of the program is we first selected students based on their academic and demographic risk factors. So basically using the early attrition analysis that was conducted by Student Support Services in the Planning and Information Office, we looked at students for their demographic risk factors. So everything from first in family, language spoken, non-English speaking background, their method of entering the university, and flag the students for being potentially at risk. And then we worked with the faculties to get the academic flags throughout the semester. So if students didn't complete an assessment, were not attending tutorials, the information was fed back to us, and then we contacted students throughout the year. We also ran a survey which looked at their motivation and engagement and factors. That survey is Andrew Martin's motivation and engagement scale. And what ended up happening is we contacted students normally every fortnight, because it sort of coincided with when they had assignments due, and they were given advice if they were had said that they were in trouble, and then they were referred on to appropriate services. So that advice and referrals were tailored depending on what the students were at risk for.
Okay, so two faculties stuck their hands up to take part in this program, and this program is run on the unit of study basis. So picked a particular unit of study that they expected to have a larger number of students at risk. We did run this as an opt-in program, so out of the 775 students, we didn't get very many who did opt in. But having said that, we got some very promising results with the failure rate for the business participants, only half that of the general cohort. We don't have sufficient information to know if an equal failure rate for the engineering was a good thing or neutral, given that these were students at risk who had stuck their hand up as being at risk, students that we were contacting because they were in trouble. It indicates that the 10% equalling the failure rate of the rest of the cohort is actually promising, but we need to do more work and have obviously better numbers to really look at that, which is why we're proposing some changes. This is actually going to be for semester 2, 2013, because unfortunately we didn't get our ethics approval through in time, so this will be working toward for second semester, where we're hoping to change it actually to an opt-out program, so that everybody will do the survey, undertake the survey as possibly in one of their tutorials, or possibly just everybody will be asked to do it, and then we'll contact students. We'll give them lots of opportunities to opt out, but we will initiate the contact with a phone call. We have actually started, not as part of the study, but just as part of supporting the students, contacting students who we have flagged as at risk. And we're having some real successes, students who've been incredibly grateful for the timely contact before HEC census date to know what it's all about. A lot of them had heard the term but still didn't actually understand what it meant. And we're able to get some referrals happening there with students who had been flagged as at risk, who had missed some assignments, and hopefully have helped to get them back on track. Some other changes we're bringing in for 2013 is working with the Faculty of Science as well, with Adam, and so we're hoping, we are including the BLAS students in the program. Again, if any other faculties are interested, we'll be talking with health sciences in the coming weeks, and if you're interested in joining this program, we think it's really good to catch the students before they actually are failing, get them nice and early and hopefully keeping them on track. We already track the Indigenous and international students at the end of each semester, but again, we'd like to introduce tracking earlier, so we're now actually contacting the category students nice and early in the semester, starting in about week 4. And we're also thinking of introducing this for scholarship recipients, because they can be very overwhelmed when they receive their scholarship and not realise it actually comes with conditions. So they don't overcommit, which is something that we see year after year, that these incredibly promising people have joined 12 clubs and 5 sporting societies and taken volunteer work, and they're also tutoring somebody and they're also working, and so brilliant students, but they're then struggling with their universities. So That's something that we're hoping to be working on over the coming months. And another exciting thing that we've just started working on is a data mining project with the planning office, still at fairly early stages, but looking at retention across the full duration of the degree, because so much of our retention work has been looking at merely the dropout up to HEC census state, or the transition from first to second year, and drilling down to what are the real risk factors for losing students. Now, a lot of the ones we've come up with, or that they've drilled down to so far, seem to be very much common sense, but it's really nice that we will actually have some evidence-based discussion here for a change. We'll have the proof to back the common sense, which is that those who are dropping out of university are those who are failing subjects. That's the biggest cross-link out of everything, and they're much, much more likely to drop out in first or second year rather than down the track. It seems simple, but we didn't even have proof that that was the case before. So we're hoping that with this project we can drill down a lot further and get some really useful indicators of where we can get the biggest bang for our buck. So that covered rather a broad swathe of topics, so there's not just one fast speaker in the room dumping a lot of information. Are there any questions at all? Hey.
With the Track and Connect program, who makes the phone calls? Is it someone that the students are familiar with?
No, we use student ambassadors, so we prepare a script depending on what responses they might get, and then if it gets something that's a bit too difficult, it's escalated to Cassie.
Yeah. I guess to give you a little bit of early analysis, so we were working with Adam and, as Felicity mentioned, the Bachelor of Liberal Arts and Sciences students. So this is a particular degree where it has a very high dropout rate, so it is a particular cohort. But the benefit is we can run this program in that cohort because all the students have to take one subject in first semester in common. So we're able to track students through that subject and connect with them. And it just so happened that, Adam also uses a system that students have to log in and it gives immediate feedback. So he was able to chuck us the results. And so we were able to contact students very quickly. Some challenges with this obviously is the different systems that each faculty uses and the timeliness of feedback to the students themselves. We found that last semester students had an assessment in week 5 and were getting feedback into week 8. And by that point, they're already preparing for their next assessment on the same sort of thing. So we were finding it was hard to actually contact them to give them help and advice about improving on that assessment and continue to improve. So we took the line of giving them, advice about the generalist things that were going on, and obviously if they failed that assessment, linking them in with the Learning Centre in different areas that could help them to improve just in general on the next one.
And the advice is very much targeted according to the particular course. So for the BLAS students, it was, okay, you've missed an assessment, missed one of your quizzes. Don't stop. You can still start taking the quizzes even though you've missed that one. It doesn't mean that you've failed the course already. So you can, just put that behind you and you can pick up and you can keep moving forward from here. So it's obviously that's going to be tailored differently for different courses. Hey.
You put up some stats about people coming to Sydney, new to Sydney. That's for non-international shops? Or is that
Those were domestics, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So whereabouts are they coming from? The metro area?
We didn't ask that depth. We just asked if they moved to Sydney to study.
That's a big number of people facing the challenge of finding places to live.
Yes.
In particular because we do, I guess, run programs for the rural or what we call country and interstate students. And a lot of the students who would come from another big metropolitan city, or perhaps moved to Sydney and went to boarding school, and so they are from the country but are just moving on to university. Those students as well are not being really captured in any of the programs that we're doing. So it's interesting to see such big numbers, whereas in the past we've just had 10%, 10%, 10%. So.
Hi.
This is really great work, and thanks for doing this. What's your relationship with program coordinators? Do you talk to them before you talk to the student, or is there any communication? Just to get some insight into that.
We do
For the Track and Connect, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do definitely are very much trying to talk to the program coordinators. The people that we're working with in most of the faculties are the teachers of these subjects, so that sort of helps, or they are the first year coordinators, so there is buy-in at that level, but given everyone's schedules and teaching commitments and all that, it can be difficult.
So it sounds like a lot of university coordinators and program coordinators sort of have some, mentorship or pastoral care type of activity that they do, but it sounds like you've done some work on scripting the conversation, which might be invaluable, to some people who find we all, constantly come up against the same questions. Is there, I know this is in the process of rollout, but I wonder would it be worthwhile at this stage even sharing that sort of material with program coordinators? So maybe
That's a great idea.
I'm just going to make a couple of comments, just getting back to the question in terms of the leadership coordinators. With all of the programs that we've done now, so with business engineering and now science, we've really relied on the faculty knowledge around which are the courses that we should be targeting. And that you in the faculty have a sense of where those hotspots are, or where the courses that students are likely to struggle, or which are sort of the courses that are proving to be almost a hurdle for them before they then go and do well in other courses or proceed into second year. So that really helped us focus. Also helps that we have students who are going through a particular cohort together, that we are able to kind of then track and get some reasonable comparisons with people that can contact and ones we can't. I think your point, however, about who else would benefit from having this information at their fingertips is a really good point. And clearly a lot of the work that we're doing with the peer mentoring program, with the cohort welcomes, with Track and Connect, is to try and build a sense across the university that there is an established network of people who can provide timely advice and assistance, and these all sort of sit under that broader umbrella. And if you feel that there are opportunities for us to come and talk to your program coordinators, first year experience, lecturing staff, we're really happy to come and to have that discussion with them.
Hi. I'm Deborah. I know Cassie quite well. I work with Kiernan. I was just interested, the orientation information is really interesting. I was wondering if you have a breakdown of stuff at faculty level, especially.
It's something that we're going to work on. There's a lot of information there, so breaking it down to faculty level is somewhat time consuming, but we are working on getting that ready for distribution.
I'm really quite interested in Track and Connect because we have a significant number of students in progression faculty, and it's something that from a data collecting point of view we really like to address, and just even trying to figure out the hotspots. I think that would be something quite interesting to do.
Hi.
You seem to be rolling this out by faculty, but you do it for a school or a particular program? Are you interested in doing that?
Yes.
If we come to you and say,
Yep.
we have some issues around a particular degree that sits in one school, so
Yeah.
why dropping out training and so on. Although
Yeah.
I can just get in touch with you.
Yeah,
I have.
definitely.
I brought business cards. So.
One of the things that we're wanting to do with this is, and it comes back to one of the earlier questions, is that we wanted to have student ambassadors to make the connection with the students rather than being faculty staff, to enable the students to be a little bit more honest about their experience, which we were hoping would then also yield additional information around what some of the academic complexity were that they were studying with. So perhaps that could then come back to your question in terms of, all students are finding the week 4 lecture really difficult, or this first assessment, if they're having difficulties, it's really impacting on their motivation for the rest of the course, that would then be useful information for you and how you design and think that particular program.
So,
And one of the questions that we are asking the students is, have you spoken to your lecturer, have you spoken to your tutor outside the lecture at all? And are you aware that you can do that? And we are getting responses of, well, no, I didn't. So,
the questions that we asked in the script we asked about preparedness, we asked about contact with staff, we asked about their knowledge of their unit of study and requirements for their subject, we asked about finances, we asked about social connections, the HEX census date, because obviously this was the key impetus for us contacting the students at this point, and then if they had any other issues, concerns or questions. So the interesting thing is we were working with Adam knowing full well that they had been in contact with their students quite a bit, and still a number of students reported not having received any contact from the teaching staff. So that's interesting because, it kind of indicates perhaps that maybe they're not logging on to their e-learning and they're not, doing the things that they need to be doing early on and getting familiar with the processes. And that's something that actually came out of our results last year as well. We had a student contact us saying, I'm completely hopeless, I have no idea how to do this assessment, and the first question we asked is, have you seen your unit of study outline? No, what's that? And it was week 8, so it's, being a recent student myself, I empathise because it is really hard and it's overwhelming and they're new and everything's new, but it's that basic thing that if they happen to hand it out in the first lecture and they're not there, then where are they supposed to get it? How do they know how to get it? Sometimes there's so much information on e-learning, but that could be too much and it gets really hard to find where you need to go for what you need. So.
That's why this program's aimed at getting in early to try and catch those before they develop into an enormous problem.
One question. So this starts in week 4. Have you thought about doing any resources aside even earlier to capture them before the census date?
We're thinking, as we've said, phone calls weeks sort of 3 to 5, because even week 5, it's still worth, even though it's after the HEX census date, for starting at the most at risk and working our way down. We can't get through everyone in time, but even week 5 is useful because, after all, if they are looking at failing, a DNF is still better than an absent fail, for example, if they're just not going to go back to that class. Or they may be able to speak to their faculty and still drop out. But we figure before week 3, they're not going to know if they're in trouble or not yet. Everything is still so new and they're still so... They'll all still feel a bit lost and a bit insecure and won't have had any assignments to do yet or anything to measure themselves against, was our feeling. But we're certainly open to feedback contrary to that.
Just a suggestion, in the course outlines we always write about disabilities or special consideration. Is it perhaps an idea to kind of circulate the possibility that lecturers could actually put this into the course outlines so that that students know about it at the very beginning of the semester?
Yeah.
And then when we talk about it in our first lecture, at least we have a passing mention of this.
Yes.
I mean, that's interesting. I actually went back and started an undergrad course this year, and in my unit of study outline I saw information about student support services, and it was disability services and counselling. We encompass accommodation, financial assistance, it's a whole suite, and it's good that information is getting in there because it is really important, but there's other areas that students may be challenged with. And it's as simple as getting that initial financial assistance to help them take some time off work or finding the right accommodation and that sort of thing. So.
I don't know if you know about this already, but within Faculty of Health Sciences there's a unit of study template which came in this year and really useful because for a lot of academic staff, what it did was say, you have permission to include information about X, Y, and Z, and you must include information about, this, that, and the other. So everybody had to go through the process of rewriting our unit of study guides, and it was tedious, but at least there was things that in that template that you had to cover up, including the information that you're talking about there. I think that was an incredibly useful task to do, sort of refreshing everybody's unit of study guide and getting the right, correct, up-to-date information in there. So maybe something to talk about at a higher level in the university is a template unit of study guide. Sorry to be the one to suggest it.
There are those conversations going on. Engineering have one, science have one, education have one.
I think business has one as well.
There's supposed to be talk about university